What is going on, everybody? Welcome to DSM Pregame Live. Red October is back and better than ever. Wild card round, game one, Phillies, Marlins at the bank. I am one half of your host, Dylan Davis. To my right, my faithful co-host, Scotty. Guys, we are streaming to you exclusively on the DSM Philadelphia YouTube channel. So if you are new to the channel, make sure to subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications, whatever you got to do, but it's the best spot to get your thoughts, comments, and questions pulled up here on the screen with your host and be interactive. Don't forget to drop your score predictions, your stars of the game, all of that good stuff. But my man, what is going on this Tuesday night?
Good evening, my man, and I'm more than excited for this big matchup to start the postseason. Feels like I got back from Hawaii right in time, man, right for the important stuff. But I'm happy to be with you here on the show, getting ready for this game tonight. And I think we're going to have a lot of fun breaking it down, but I'm hoping that the game is a lot more fun than the pregame show. But we know we got a decent to tough matchup tonight.
Yeah.
With Luzardo and the Marlins coming to town, man.
I'm glad you brought that up. That's what I want to address here first. Before we dive into the Wheeler versus Jesus Luzardo pitching matchup, before we get into the Phillies lineup, keys to victory, all of that good stuff, our predictions for the night, I do have to talk to the Phillies fans out there because I hear you. I see some of your tweets. I get the nerves, and that's just basic, classic, simple nerves of being back in the postseason, and you're basically at the point of win or go home almost, right? Especially in a three-game series where anything can happen. I also would have preferred to play the Arizona Diamondbacks more so than the Miami Marlins in the first round. I get that they can throw out two lefties like Braxton Garrett and Jesus Luzardo in game one. I get they have a plethora of lefties to come out of the bullpen that could kind of, or maybe slow down this Phillies lineup with Bryce Harper, with Bryson Stott, with Kyle Schwarber from the left side of the box. I get they're more dangerous offensively than the Diamondbacks are. But guys, if you are scared of the Miami Marlins, if you are truly worried, I'm not saying just worried in the sense of, playoff nerves. If you are truly worried that the Philadelphia Phillies are in jeopardy of losing this series, just pack up the rest of the postseason. Just forget the rest of the run. Because what are you going to do against the Atlanta Braves? What are you going to do if they play the Los Angeles Dodgers on the road in games 1 and 2 again in the NLCS? What are you going to do if they get back to the World Series and have to play the Astros again? The Marlins are a formidable opponent. It's an NL East rivalry. They beat the Phillies in the regular season. I understand that. But if you are truly worried that the Phillies could lose this series, what are we doing here, Scotty?
Yeah. No, I agree, man. I think that's a good starting point. Because at the end of the day, you got to have faith in this team, man. This is a team that put together a better regular season than last season when they were able to make the World Series. So why shouldn't you come in with home field advantage with some confidence, man? And I think it's well deserved for this Phillies team and what they've been able to accomplish this year. Obviously, Luzardo, it's a tough matchup. We get it. He's a left for the lefties in the lineup. It's going to be a tough night. But when you have some of the best lefties in the world, I think we can kind of deal with it and maneuver through, especially at home tonight. So I think it's important to notate that going into this matchup, going into this show, for everything that we're going to break down during it. So I think those are all good talking points, my man.
Yeah, so let's get into our keys to victory tonight for the Philadelphia Phillies to walk out of game one with a win and head into tomorrow with a chance to eliminate the Miami Marlins. And I'll throw number one to you. So me and Scotty have come up with three keys to victory together. Number one is pop from the right side. So speaking of Jesus Luzardo as the left-hander that he is, and Bryce Harper and Kyle Schwarber have carried this team at moments. Bryce Harper last year with the historic postseason run and numbers that he put up, they have carried the weight of this city on their shoulders more times than I can count in over the last year or two. It is time for the right side of the lineup to pull their weight, which they have done all regular season, right? Four of them hit for 20-plus home runs to go along with Schwarber and Bryce. But it's time to bring that pop from the right side of the plate. Trey Turner, JT Realmuto, Alec Boehm, Nick Castellanos. I'm not just talking about hitting well. I'm talking about bringing power numbers to the plate tonight in case Bryce and or Schwarber are kind of limited against the left-handed pitching this series. That is key number one.
Yes, sir. And I think it's an important notation here. And by all means, as we mentioned earlier in the show, these guys didn't perform well against Luzardo throughout their career and throughout the times that they face in this season. That doesn't mean that they can't do it in the postseason in an environment that Luzardo has never played in before, right? That's one thing that the Phillies just have to take advantage of tonight. So I'm right there with you on the right side. I think along with that, we talk about the environment. We talk about Luzardo getting in on him early, getting the action going against him early, making him uncomfortable, not allowing him to settle into this game. We discussed it, as you mentioned before the show, to get these notes together. We need to not only, we stress out the bat counts and getting through the at bats, right? Giving long at bats, making them work the pitcher. But I think importantly today, we need to be aggressive early in the count, going after these pitches. And like you said, we need to show some power from the right side. That all falls in line with those first two keys, man.
Yeah, no, I think that second key is incredibly important tonight because, listen, we get frustrated as fans when our guys are coming up and they're struggling through the first 3 or 4 innings, and maybe Jesus Luzardo, has only given up 1 hit and it's scoreless, and he's only got a 37 pitch count. And Bryson Stott comes up to lead off the 4th inning, and he swings at the first pitch and pops up, and we want to rip our hair out, right? And we want to work the count. Make him work, get that pitch count up. Let's get to the bullpen. I don't think that's the key tonight. I think the key to getting after a young, inexperienced postseason pitcher like Jesus Luzardo on the road in this environment. This isn't Tampa Bay. This isn't 19,000 fans at the Rays game this afternoon.
Yeah.
This is going to be sold out, 44, 45, 46 plus thousand screaming fans in an environment that he and the rest of the Marlins have never been in. So tonight is the night to give the Phillies the green light, the night to allow them to go out and swing at the first pitch or two to try to get on this young pitcher and not let him get you to 2-strike counts real quick, because you want to work that count. Because if that happens, specifically the lefties might be in trouble, and he can kind of get into a rhythm and in a groove and find out what he wants to do from the mound tonight. Do not allow that to happen. Swing early, swing often, and try to put runs up on him on the board early, and this crowd will be right behind the Philadelphia Phillies tonight. Key number 3, man. I want to take it to our mound with Zach Wheeler on the bump tonight. And I think it's important to try to pitch to their pop with no one on base. Jorge Soler, Jake Berger acquired at the deadline. Josh Bell acquired at the deadline. Seems to always be a Philly killer, right? I think it's important and an emphasis for Wheeler to try to pitch to those guys with limited to no base runners. I don't need Josh Bell coming to the plate in a 1-run game with 1st and 2nd and 1 out. That's not what I need to see tonight. If Josh Bell's going to take you deep, if Jorge Soler is going to hit a home run tonight, Zach, it's got to be solo. You got to limit the power numbers that those 3 guys can give you. Obviously, I know they have some other guys, Jazz Chisholm, Brian De La Cruz. They can hit the ball out of the ballpark as well. But I'm looking at those 3, pitching to them with limited to no base runners on the paths to limit those power numbers.
No, I think that's huge in this game, man. You mentioned it. And I feel like Wheeler did a good job of that, especially in the last matchup when he went against the Marlins back in August. Was only gave up 2 runs in that game. They were both 2 solo home runs. So that's exactly what we're looking for. Obviously, you don't want to give up the home runs at all. But if you're going to give them up in Citizens Bank Park, let them at least be solo shots. You do not want guys on base racking up those runs, because this does appear, I don't know how you feel about this game. It feels like a game that's going to be a little low scoring, right? You're not expecting a ton of runs in this game. So we need Wheeler to come out and do his job. And I think that's like the final point here to mention when you talk about keys to victory, just doing their job tonight. We've discussed this so many times, especially on this show. They are the better team. They are at home. They're more talented, right? Take advantage. You're even more experienced in this matchup. That's the other side that just really hasn't been talked about enough. They're more experienced in this matchup. Just come out and do your job. Don't give away runs. Don't have errors in the outfield. Don't miss the opportunities to get guys in when you have runners in scoring position. They just need to do their job tonight and take care of business at home, man.
Listen, I think it's kind of a different, I don't know. It's a bad analogy because the Texas Rangers are much, much, much more talented and dangerous of a roster than the Miami Marlins are. The Texas Rangers could legitimately get to the World Series and win the whole thing. I don't view the Marlins in that light. But to your point, you're talking about experience. The Tampa Bay Rays are a more experienced team.
Yeah.
The Rangers have just cracked back into the postseason. The Rangers get a 4-0 win to start wild card weekend or the wild card slate, I should say, this afternoon. The Rays had 4 errors at home.
Yeah.
I mean, it played a huge part in that ball game. That's the more experienced team.
Yeah.
That cannot happen tonight. You cannot allow freebies. Walks cannot happen tonight. We spoke about kind of limiting their power numbers. If you're going to give up that bomb, make sure it's a solo home run. You give up 3-run home runs. Those are momentum shifting swings, man.
Yeah.
That's a difference maker of a swing if that's a 2 or 3-run home run. God forbid a grand slam, right? But no, I think all very key points. And it'll be interesting tonight, man. But I just can't steer away from the fact that I need everyone to just exhale and take that breath and just say they're okay, because the Phillies, they do have the experience, even with the guys that are new to this ball club, the all-season acquisitions. Trey Turner, he's been around the block. He's a World Series champion. Craig Kimbrell, been around the block, right? Like these guys have been there, done that. They bring in that postseason experience, just like Kyle Schwarber brought to this ball club last year when he first arrived here. So I think that it's not like you brought in a bunch of new guys that, wasn't along for the ride last year and they're kind of new to this and then, they might have the nerves. No, they really understand what it's like to play games tonight. But, look, man, I'll throw this to you before we get to the pitching matchup, and I'll pull up the lineup card here that Topper's running out there. Yeah. But it's just the one thing that I love about playoff baseball is everything's magnified. Everything is emphasized. Every pitch, every at-bat, every out, every walk, it's magnified, man. And it is such a different feeling than the regular season.
Yeah.
Right? If the Philadelphia Phillies come out and are scoreless through 4 innings tonight, we're going to be sitting here like, oh, here we go.
Here we
go. Whereas the regular season, you're sitting here like, it's the bottom of the 4th, like they got time, right?
Yeah.
If the Phillies get a leadoff walk in the bottom of the 2nd, let's go. Like you're freaking out because it's magnified by every at bat. What's going on, man? The fight in Red October. The ride to the World Series starts tonight. But Scotty, let's look at this lineup card that Rob Thompson has thrown out there for Game 1 against the Miami Marlins tonight. DHing leading off, obviously, is Kyle Schwarber. Trey Turner at shortstop batting 2nd. Alec Boehm hitting 3rd at 3rd base. Bryce Harper cleaning up at 1st base. JT Realmuto 5th catching. Nick Castellanos out and right batting 6th. Bryson Stott 7th at 2nd base. Christian Pache in over Brandon Marsh out in left field for the right-handed bat. And Johan Rojas gets the start in center to round out that lineup. What do you make of it? What sticks out to you? Obviously, like I said, Pache over Marsh. We know that Thompson was very analytical even in the World Series last year. Obviously has kind of given that nod to Bryson Stott to say, okay, but hasn't quite done that with Marsh yet.
Yeah, I'm actually just happy that he did give the nod to Bryson Stott. It feels like it's a no-brainer, but you never know. You just never know with a manager that loves his veterans and loves to go by the analytics. But honestly, the analytics point in Bryson Stott's favor in just the short amount of at-bats that he's had against Luzardo. He's 4 or 5. He's got the best batting average of the team, even with the little amounts that he's actually went at bat against Luzardo. Rojas gets the nod here. I thought that was a vote of confidence in his way. And that's what we wanted to see, right? We talked about this yesterday on the Faithful Fanatic. We wanted to see Rojas in this lineup. He's a guy that can make a difference, especially in the outfield, making plays. So I'm happy to see him in the lineup. They didn't kind of organize it the way we talked about yesterday as far as the top of the lineup. But I'm still cool with it. You got Trey batting 2nd. You got Harper there at 4th. So I'm still fine with it, even though they didn't lay it out exactly the way we discussed. But I'm looking at Trey Turner at batting 2nd in that lineup. We need him to get on base, man. You got Boehm and Harper right behind him. We need him to get on base, get him home, and put these guys in big spots to make up to take advantage of opportunities. Excuse me. So overall, I like the lineup. Obviously, we might have wanted to see Marsh in that Pache spot, But you're going with the analytics. You're going with the statistics that go in the Phillies' favor there. And I'm willing to give Pache a chance out there tonight. I'm willing to see what he's got. And I have a really good feeling that maybe Rob Thompson had something good in mind here by throwing Pache into the lineup. So overall, I'm cool with it. I think he's rolling with your guys for the most part, right? No Marsh, but aside from that, he's rolling with the guys that got us here, and that's cool with me.
Yeah, I think first and foremost, the fact that Bryson Stott is just, locked into this lineup, lefty or righty, is the biggest thing right now. If Topper was flashing back to last postseason and Marsh and Bryson Stott were sitting against lefties, that'd be a major problem with me. But the fact that he, has realized that Bryson Stott is A-OK to hit against left-handed pitching is a big step forward. And Corey Seidman tweeted this out 2 hours ago after the lineup came out. And he said, Pache is indeed starting in left field tonight against the lefty Luzardo. He went 16 for 51. So he's batting .314 against lefties this season with 6 doubles and 2 homers. So the numbers, it's not like just Topper is throwing shit at the wall by putting a right-handed bat in the lineup over to lefty because Marsh might not hit them so well. He's taking a left-handed hitter out of the lineup that might not hit him so well to a righty that's hitting over .310 against right-handed pitching this year. The numbers support it. Like you said, game 1 of the wild card round, you might have that, finagle room to kind of see if Pache's ready for this moment. I think that's the biggest thing. Whether it is Pache or Marsh out there in left with Rojas in center, like you alluded to, Rojas starting as well. It's the best defensive lineup the Phillies can throw out there as well. Castellanos in right, Rojas in center, and either of those two out and left is the best defensive setup they have. And I think that could play a lot of a big factor this run as well.
I have a question for you just regarding one of our keys to victory from earlier. It falls in line with the lineup here. So you mentioned the righties that are in the lineup and them having to step up with some power tonight. Out of those 4 guys that we mentioned earlier, in Alec Bohm, Trey Turner, JT Realmuto, and Nick Castellanos, who out of those guys, if you had to pick one, would be your guy that's going to make his mark on this game and provide that power tonight?
That's going to make his mark. I have it limited down to 2, and that is Costi and Trey. And both, obviously, Trey is the more newly acquired piece, the newer toy, right? But this is also what Costi was brought here last offseason to do. These two were brought in to be the difference makers from the right side of the plate, and in this moment to get them over the hump. Obviously, Castellanos had a very, very down year 1. Did not succeed in the postseason. This year has been a complete, resurrection for him in Philly. And then Trey, ever since the ovation and the hype video, they put it in there. He's just a difference maker from the right side of the plate. Both guys hit over 20 home runs, and I think that's huge. But if I had to give you one, I'll go with Trey Turner, man, because as great as Nick Castellanos has been, led the team in home run RBIs, I should say, over 100 RBIs. He's been phenomenal. The fact that you can have him batting, 6th or 7th or 6th in this lineup, I should say, tonight, is pretty incredible. But Trey Turner is the best shortstop in the game. That's a difference.
That's your big money guy.
That's not like Nick Castellanos is a difference maker.
Yeah.
Trey Turner is a game breaker. Trey Turner can take the life out of an opposing team.
Yeah.
And that's what I need to see him kind of do from night 1, specifically against left-handed pitching tonight, man. So I think it's a great question. Another thing I was talking, I interviewed Connor Thomas yesterday, and we were kind of looking at this team, and this team's built for power, right? They're built for pop, like we said in our first key. And that, reigned true this year. Is 6 of their starting 9 hit for 20 plus home runs. But there's also a ton of guys in this lineup that are table setters. There's speed, there's contact, there's high average. And that's different for me than compared to last year. Last year, they were so streaky and hot and cold because of the pop. This year, you have a guy like Trey Turner, can set the table and get on first base as a threat to steal. Johan Rojas, whether it's Brandon Marsh or Christian Pache, both guys can do it. Bryson Stott is a table setter, right? JT Realmuto can set the table. There's so many different guys that can beat you playing small ball and get on base to start an inning via walk, via just a slap base hit the opposite way this year, compared to last year where you were just looking for that one big swing to break through. I don't think they need to do that, man, especially in this series versus the Marlins.
Yeah, I think that's another big point. You brought up Trey Turner earlier, and I think that's another reason. We just need him to get on base tonight to provide opportunities for everybody else to get him home and bring in runs. Obviously, you see the speed around the bases from the young guys that are going to be in the lineup as well.
Mhm.
That provides a spark. We know how JT can get around the bases. So that's going to be huge tonight. And that's part of what we've been talking about, taking advantage of the limited opportunities that you will get against a good
Yep.
pitcher like Luzardo. They need to be all over it tonight. But that can be the difference as you look throughout the whole path of this postseason for these fighting Phillies. That's what it's going to come down to. That's the difference from last year, right? Aside from the depth in the pitching staff and the bullpen. So I'm excited to see what they got tonight in this lineup against a tough matchup. You get to show your stuff at home immediately in this postseason.
Yeah. It's funny, man. As we wrap up in the next couple of minutes and get to our game predictions here, we spent a lot of time talking about this lineup, and rightfully so. It's kind of what this team and Dave Dombrowski kind of constructed to be, right? It's what they were meant to be. But Zach Wheeler's on the mound tonight, and you want to talk about one of the most underrated pitchers across the entire major leagues. That is Zach Wheeler. Every year since he's become a Philly, and when they brought him over, signing him after he left New York, you brought him in to kind of be that, he was supposed to be the 2 to Wheeler, or to Nola, excuse me.
Yeah.
And roles have greatly reversed ever since he stepped foot into a Phillies uniform. He's just Mr. Consistent. He's Mr. Steady. He's Mr. I don't let, that heartbeat, right, that they talk about with Ranger.
Yeah.
That's what Wheels feels like. And until his arm almost fell off in the World Series last year, he was humming through his first postseason action. And I can't wait to see what he does tonight against a mostly inexperienced lineup, right? Jorge Soler has, World Series experience with the Braves. Josh Bell has World Series experience, obviously was with the Padres in the NLCS last year. They have some guys with experience, but not many. So I'm looking to see what Zach Wheeler can do tonight, man. And I'm honestly expecting him to get into the 7th inning. Now, I know playoff baseball is a little different. It's managed different. Rob Thompson has to kind of see things coming rather than wait and react for them to happen, right? So, for instance, if he notices something with Wheeler's velocity, if Wheeler, walks a leadoff batter to start the 6th and it's a 1-run game or a tie game, you might see that call to the bullpen come earlier than normal because he needs to get in front of this rather than wait and react tonight. So it'll be interesting to see the leash he has for his guys, but I would expect Wheeler's leash to be pretty lengthy.
I do have a question for you regarding Wheeler and just the situation that we have at hand playing the Marlins in this game 1 of the wild card series. How big is this game in terms of momentum? And obviously you want to start the postseason on the right foot. You're at home. You want to take advantage of all your home opportunities. And you want to get the Marlins out of here as quick as possible.
For sure.
But how important is it that the Phillies win this first game with Wheeler at the mound, knowing who you have up next in your lineup of pitching here?
Well, I'll say this. I think it's even bigger for the fact that you don't want to allow a lesser team to have an inkling of confidence or thought that, hey, we're about to get this thing done. Like, don't get me wrong. The Marlins are going to come in. Jazz Chisholm was talking about how this team loves to play under the lights. You ain't never experienced lights like this, bro. You haven't. And if the Marlins were able to steal game 1, those wheels start to really turn and fasten. And now the Phillies' backs are against the wall just to survive to get to a game 3 where, they would have the advantage, right? But you need to come out and kind of put your foot down and put your foot on this young team's throat and say, whatever thought you had isn't happening.
Statement game to start the postseason, 100%. Man. 100%.
1,000%. Because you do that, anything goes tomorrow. You would never in a billion years expect the Phillies to get swept in the wild card round, but you lose tonight with Mr. Head case this season on the mound tomorrow versus another lefty who the Phillies are struck. Anything goes tomorrow. You need to put a stop to that thought process tonight. And,
don't even open the door.
100%. But before we give our predictions, man, we're going to give out I don't want to call it a best bet, but just a little bet. So our best bet would be Phillies money line. That's what I'm laying. I'm only laying Phillies money line. It's kind of what I do in the postseason for any of our teams here in Philadelphia. If the money line or spread is close enough to do so, because obviously the regular season is one thing, but there's nothing more frustrating than having money on a player prop or you need runs to score, whatever the case may be. But the Phillies are winning a playoff game, but you're still kind of a sourpuss because you've lost some money on a Trey Turner hit.
The worst.
You know what I mean? I'm not doing that. I'm only laying money line. Let's go win a ball game. They win. We all win. We win some money as well. With that said, if we had to give a player prop, let's back the numbers. Let's back the manager in Rob Thompson and Christian Pache for one hit. Now, this is interesting because if Luzardo comes out and they go to righties in the bullpen, Pache could get yanked. However, they're very deep with lefties in the bullpen too. So I'm sure you're going to see a lot of them tonight as well. So Christian Pache over half a hit. 1+ hit for Pache is -120. It's almost an even line for this dude to get hit. Well, I'm going to believe that Rob Thompson is going to push the correct button tonight. And this man is in the game for a reason, hitting .314 against left-handed pitching, and he gets the job done, and Christian Pache gets a hit tonight for the folks.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I love that play. Obviously, you could go a bunch of different routes, but I think Pache is where the money is worth it, right? Given the numbers, given the situation. But yeah, I agree, man. Money line in the postseason, especially with the Philly teams. You can do whatever you want with teams outside of your favorite squads.
Yeah, because then you're just mad at the prop.
We dealt with that with the Sixers, right? We tried to put best bets out there. We went with plays, and Embiid gets 25+ points and the Sixers win. Right. Embiid gets 22, but the Sixers win. But you feel like shit about it because you don't get that payout even with the win. So yeah, I think money line is the way to go. Last time I checked, they were at what, -155.
Yeah,
I mean,
still at that because
just hammer the money line and roll with the Phils, and then that way, when they do win here at home, when they do take care of business, you'll be double the happiness, right? You don't want to have to,
or you're double sad. See, it's one extreme or the other, right? It's not
exactly
your heart's.
If they lose, you'll be upset anyways.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter. So
exactly, your heart and mind aren't getting tugged in two different directions, right? You're happy, or you're sad. And either way, it's one extreme or the other, man. But like Scotty just said, I think he just gave his game prediction, like when they win. So Scotty, give me a score tonight. Do the Philadelphia Phillies win Game 1 of this wild card round against the Marlins?
Yeah, obviously, if I believe in the Phillies at all throughout this postseason, it starts here tonight with Zach Wheeler on the mound. I do believe the Phillies come away with a 5-3 win. 5 runs, it doesn't sound like a lot, but it is a lot against Luzardo on the mound. And I think with that in mind, I think that means that the crowd did get to him, maybe get him out of this game a little bit early, maybe get him unsettled very early in this game. But nonetheless, I do think the Phillies get on the board. They get on early and then allowed some insurance runs down the line. 5-3 win for the Fightins tonight for me.
I'm with you, man. I think the Phillies come away with a win tonight. I am going to go with 5. 5's like a perfect number. It's around what they averaged, a little lower than they averaged, right, with the decimal point, give or take. But I'm going to go with a little bit of a statement. All right, maybe I'm getting ahead of myself. Maybe there is something to Jesus Luzardo versus lineup, but I'm going to say that the Fightins drop 7 on this young kid and the bullpen and give them a welcome to the bank tonight and show them what it's like to play in postseason October baseball in the majors. I'm going to go with 7 to I like 3 for the Marlins as well. 7-3 Phillies win. And they move on tomorrow with Aaron Nola for a chance to lock it up and get to the NLDS, man.
Yeah, let's get it, man.
2 wins. 2 wins from taking on the Atlanta Braves just like last year, and hopefully, potentially getting Spencer Strider back into Philadelphia to pitch Game 4 and letting him hear all about it. But we cannot look that far ahead. Got to take care of business tonight, and I think they will. Guys, that is going to do it for DSM Pregame Live Phillies Marlins wild card round Game 1 preview. We will be back tomorrow night breaking down Game 2, hopefully in a positive manner and ready to sweep out the Miami Marlins. But for myself, for Scotty, for DSM, have a great rest of your night. Ring the bell, go Phils, and have a very, very fun Tuesday night.